Hey guys, I've got 6 crucial attacking chess principles that if you follow are going to make your attacks more successful. You're going to be checkmating your opponent's king more often, and you're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Okay, so let's go ahead and just jump right in. And I'm going to actually show you an example game that I played online. This was from one of my anonymous accounts on Lichess. I was playing against a 2400 rated opponent. Let's go ahead and just jump right in. So I played what's called the Jobava London, which is actually an aggressive opening, despite starting with the d4 pawn, which sometimes people think is more positional. This is a very aggressive opening. My opponent played c6. I played e3, letting out the bishop. And he played kind of an aggressive move here, bishop to g4. I blocked with the pawn, gaining a tempo, forcing my opponent to move their bishop. And they played bishop to f5. Now, this brings us to the first principle that I would like to draw your attention to. If you would like to pause, what move do you think I played in this position and why? All right, if you had a chance to look at that. So principle number 1 is use pawn storms. Okay, this is one of the best ways to launch an attack on your opponent. Now, a lot of people think pawn storms can only be used after they have castled and you know where their king is going to be, and then you launch the pawns on their king. In fact, you can use pawn storms at any moment, and a lot of times you gain time and space by doing so. And so the move that I played in this position was g4. I'm launching a pawn storm. I'm taking advantage of the fact that my opponent's last moves actually allowed me to get 2 pawn moves for free. And that's not something that you want to underestimate. When you can do these with tempo and attack the opponent's pieces, that is when pawn storms are most effective. So I played the move g4, and my opponent actually decided to go all the way back to c8. If they would have gone to g6, I was probably going to play h4 and actually now threaten to trap the bishop, right? So I'm gaining all kinds of space. And of course, they could stop that by moving their h-pawn, but then I'm going to keep pushing. Maybe I'll play g5, gain some more time, and I'm basically getting all of those moves for free, okay? So remember, pawn storms are very useful as a way to gain space. All right, so my opponent went back to c8, and I continued with the plan, and I played h4. And again, even though their king is not there, I am still gaining space and pushing these pieces around, okay? They played h5. I played g5. They brought their knight back. All right, pause the video. What do you think I played in this position? There's actually a very powerful move for white. All right, if you had a chance to look at that. So this brings us to principle number 2, which is pawn sacrifices to create weaknesses around the opponent's king. Okay? Pawns are very good to just give up if you get something else in return, right? It's one of the best ways to use pawns, in my opinion. So I played the move g6. Now you say, why would I do that? Well, obviously it's a sacrifice. If black wants, they can just take a free pawn. But if they do take that, what do you think I'm going to follow up with? Bishop d3 or queen d3, right? Both of these moves are very powerful. And the point is that actually I'm going to get my pawn right back. Unless black is willing to play the move king f7, which is absolutely awful, bringing out their king like this into the open. It's exposed. And we're going to be able to easily attack this king, probably with knight h3, knight g5 check. Eventually take the pawn, and black's position is literally falling apart on move 9, okay? Or 10, move 10. So that's not what they want, okay? And that is why this is such a powerful move. And so because of that, my opponent decided to play the move f6. They said, no thanks, I don't want to mess with that. I'm trying to keep the position closed off so you can't easily get to my king, okay? Let's keep going. So I played bishop h3, just developing my bishop to a nice diagonal. They played e5, and I dropped my bishop back. They played bishop to b4, and right here, I would like you to pause again. What do you think I played in this position? All right, so this brings us to the next principle, which is prevent your opponent from castling. You know, one of the safest places for a king is to castle, kind of be tucked away on the side of the board behind some pawns, right? Now, in this position, you could make an argument that maybe this isn't the safest place for my opponent's king because of how I have this pawn here, and this is kind of, they've already pushed their h-pawn, right? But still, I still was following the principle because you never know, they might move these pieces and try to castle the other way, right? So I noticed this opportunity, bishop to e6. Where's my bishop going? It's going to f7. Why? Because when you put your opponent's king in check, they can't castle, right? And then I know for the rest of the game, the king is going to be stuck somewhere around this area of the board, right? So this was a great opportunity, and I wasn't going to wait around for them to move their knight, then their bishop was going to be controlling this, right? So I jumped on the opportunity to prevent castling. Very, very important. Of all the principles, this is probably one of the most important. If you can do this consistently, you're going to get really great attacks on your opponent's king, okay? So let's keep going. They played queen e7, and I continued with the plan, bishop to f7 check. And it's nice that the pawn is there defending the bishop because my bishop can just kind of sit there, right? But the more important thing is that we've prevented black from castling. Now we know it's going to be stuck in the center of the board, at least for a while. It's going to be easier to attack, okay? All right. I played knight to e2, just developing my piece. My opponent played knight f8. And what do you think I played in this position? And more importantly, what's the idea behind the move? All right. If you had a chance to think about that, let's go. Principle number 4. You want to open key files and diagonals to get at your opponent's king. See, the problem with so many pawns on the board is that they block the more higher value pieces from attacking the king. So if you want to attack the king, you have to get rid of some of those pawns. So one of the best ways to do that is trading those pawns with the goal of opening key files and diagonals, right? So if I can get rid of some of these, this bishop might become more effective, and also this queen, and who knows, maybe someday even my rooks, right? So opening up the files is really important. The first and easiest way to do this is start making some trades, trade some pawns. And so that's all I did here. Very simple, right? Once you understand the idea and the reason why. They captured. I played a3 to force this bishop to make a decision. They went back. And right here, I think is another moment to pause before we get to principle number 5. What do you think I played? All right, so if you had a chance to look at that, the next principle, actually, sorry, not the next. We're still on this principle number 4. Sorry, the move that I played here, and you could make an argument that there's a couple of moves. The move I played was knight takes d5. It's the same idea. Okay, I still want to open the files and the diagonals, particularly this file. I want to open this file at all costs, and I'm even willing to give up a knight to do it. Now, Stockfish says e4 is also a very powerful move, threatening the same thing. The reason I didn't play it is because I felt like they would play d4 and shut me down, and I would have a hard time doing it. But Stockfish is like, no, you can still play knight a4, attack the bishop, and I guess later it's going to play c3 and still try to open things up. But from a human standpoint, I felt like this move made the most sense, and Stockfish does like this move. Okay, so we sacrifice our knight, and after they take back, bam, now the queen gets to jump up, and you can already start to see how we're putting a lot of pressure on black's king. Okay? So they played the move knight to d7, blocking off the queen. Now, before I tell you what the next principle is, I just want to stop and mention something. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here for a second. Chess Vibes Academy is my online membership program. And every month inside of there, I do a boot camp. It's kind of like a special course where I let the viewers be involved. We do a live stream. You can ask questions. I respond personally with videos. And the August boot camp is attack first. And we're looking at lots of principles just like what you're learning in this video. So if you're enjoying this video and you're learning from it, you're going to love the attack first boot camp. You're going to get 18 key attacking principles, lots of model games and examples just like this one. And like I said, I'll answer your personal questions. I'll look at your games, whatever you want. In September, we're doing a different boot camp, choosing the perfect opening. And that's one of the most common questions I get. People are like, well, what opening should I play? Should I play this opening? Is this really a good opening at my level? Should I play a different opening? Like, what do you think? We're going to talk about that inside of that bootcamp. I'm going to actually give you a special survey you can take that's going to kind of give you an idea of like your style would fit well with this particular opening. Spend a lot of time putting that together, so that's going to be really helpful. And then in October, we're going to tackle the king and pawn endings. It's one of the most common ways beginners throw away games at the end. You play the whole game, you do really well, you get to an end game where just some kings and pawns are left, and you don't really know what you're supposed to do. And you lose games you should have won, you lose games you should have drawn, right? You draw games you should have won. Like, there's so many little mistakes at the end. So that's what we're going to cover there. So there's also past boot camps that you get access to. We've done one on blundering. We've done one on top 50 tactics, middle game planning, all kinds of stuff in there. So please check out the link in the description. We only open this up a couple times a year, and it's about to close. Okay, so there's probably just a few hours left by the time this video is going to go live. So I highly recommend you check that out and take advantage of that. Okay. All right. Having said that, we are going back to the game here. And principle number 5. Let's go. Principle number 5 is bring more pieces. So this is a really common situation. You're attacking the king. Your position looks great, but there's no checkmate. I mean, what am I going to do? He's got all these pieces around his king. The queen is there. The bishop is there. Like, I don't have a checkmate. What am I going to do, right? Bring more pieces. I have a rook. I have a rook. I have a knight that aren't really doing anything. So what did I play? I castled queenside. Because now my queen gets the support of the rook. I'm bringing more pieces to the attack. Very, very important that you understand that. All right. My opponent captured here with check. I just tucked the king over to the side. My king is nice and safe. Meanwhile, black's king is still in trouble. That is why Stockfish is like, yeah, white is just totally winning. You can see the eval bar there. Even though the material is not that different, the position is just so good for me. All of black's pieces are just really awkward and stuck. The king is weak, and my pieces are looking amazing. They played knight c6. I played rook d3. Kind of the same principle at play here. I'm attacking the bishop, but I'm also clearing the square for this other rook to come to get a triple battery and bring even more pieces to the attack, right? They played the move queen c5. What do you think I played? Pause the video and think about it. All right, so this brings us to the sixth principle that we're going to talk about today, which is do not trade queens when you are attacking your opponent's king. This is probably the number one thing that will just instantly give away a massive part of your advantage. I want you to watch the eval bar. If I would have taken this queen, watch the eval bar. Ready? Boom. Whoa. Most of my advantage is gone. Most of my advantage is just gone, right? You have to keep the queens on the board when your opponent's king is really weak because queens are so good at checkmating the king. And as soon as you trade that off, it's like, well, now how are you going to checkmate them now? And now I'm just down a piece because remember I sacked a piece earlier. So do not trade queens when you're attacking unless you see a very clear tactic that's going to win you like a bunch of, pieces, or you could see that it's obviously going to lead to a winning endgame or something. But otherwise, do not trade queens. Okay. So really any move here that keeps the queens on the board is a good move. Okay. Any of these would be fine. I played queen e4, which I think Stockfish does say is probably the best. Just kind of keeping it centralized, putting pressure on the bishop. And like I said, avoiding the trade. Okay. They played bishop to d4. What do I need to do in this position? Well, remember, going back to principle number 4, opening the files. He's shut down one of my key attacking files. I can't have that. So what did I play? c3. I've got to get that bishop out of there because I need to be able to use my rooks and my queen to attack this king. You cannot leave pieces blocking like that, especially if you have pawns, which do a great job of just chasing them away. Okay? So my opponent actually decided to play knight f6 here. And if you want to pause again, what do you think I played? So if you look carefully, the queen is basically trapped. Okay? Now I could go to e3 and taking advantage of the pin and then try to run away. But I noticed that actually I can just ignore it and take here. Now, like I said, I don't really want to trade queens, but this is clearing the file. It's getting a piece back, so I'm going to be actually even on material, and I'm going to get their queen. So that's why I decided to do it. They captured here instead. They didn't let me take them. And if you want to pause, I played an interesting move here as well. All right, so I'm going to give you a bonus principle here. I didn't put this in the slideshow that I was going through, but a bonus principle is a lot of times when you get a really nice attacking position like this, you're going to need to sacrifice something to finish off the game. That's pretty common, okay? And so you want to be looking for those opportunities, even if you have to give up a piece to do it. And so I noticed here that I could actually take with my knight, giving up my queen. Now, they can't take my queen. If you guys want to pause, why can they not take my queen? That's correct. They actually have a checkmate in one move. Knight takes c6 is actually just checkmate. It's a double check. Okay, it's a double check, which means the king has to move somewhere to get away from that square. But you can't go here. You can't go here because of my knight. You can't go here because this bishop. And you can't go here because of the rook. So it's just checkmate, game over. So even though I was sacrificing my queen, they couldn't actually take my queen, right? But those are the kind of moves you have to look for. Try to find the most aggressive attacking move, even if it's costing you some pieces, because sometimes it's just the best move, right? So I captured there with the knight. My opponent actually decided to take this knight. I took with my rook, putting the king in check. They played bishop to d7. What do you think I played here? All right, so I actually did not play the best move. According to the engine, the best move was queen takes b7 or rook takes d7. Both of these moves were really good. I was just following the principle of number 5 that we talked about, bringing more pieces. Okay, so I played rook over, which even though it wasn't the best move, it still keeps my advantage and it keeps the pressure on black. Okay, I think Stockfish's idea with this move is you're threatening to just take here and win both of the rooks. And also there's some checkmate threats if depending on what black plays. So anyway, I just played this. They captured my queen and I came in with the rook. And basically I was saying, look, even though I lost my queen, my 2 rooks and my 2 bishops, and the fact that this king is totally trapped. Look at this. Can't move anywhere. The rooks are out of the game. Even though I'm down a queen, I'm like, no, there's going to be a checkmate. There's going to be a win. And I think that's what I was thinking. So I captured here. They played queen c6. And now I played one move, which actually caused them to resign. If you want to pause. Okay, so there's a couple ways you could do it. Bishop e6 is the stockfish move. Even though it looks like a free bishop, you're actually luring the queen away. Now you can go check here. Look at this. The king is basically trapped. They have to go this way. And now you have, you just bring your rook back somewhere and they have to block and it's checkmate. Okay, so that's what Stockfish wanted. I played, what did I play? I played a different move. I played rook e7. Similar idea. I'm threatening this checkmate and black is really not going to be able to deal with it unless they sacrifice their queen. Stockfish says they could somehow survive by giving up the queen, but obviously this is a winning position for me. I have an extra piece. Black still has a bad position. So moral of the story, let's just recap this very quickly. Pawn sacrifice to weaken the king. Okay. Do not let them castle. That is super important. Okay. Open the files to get at the king. Really important. When you, even at the cost of sacrificing a piece, when you feel like, okay, the attack is good, but I don't know what to do, bring more pieces. Make sure you just keep bringing pieces. That's always going to be a good strategy. Do not trade queens, right? And then what was the other one? Yeah, I think that was the last one I mentioned. So don't forget, guys, Chess Vibes Academy. It is open right now, but it's going to close very soon. So please go check it out. These are the first 3 boot camps you can expect. The attack one is actually live now. So if you join right now, you can go start watching those videos and catch up on all the other 18 attacking principles and see me inside of there, ask your questions. So yeah, looking forward to see everybody inside of Chess Vibes Academy. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you guys next time. Stay sharp, play smart, take care.